We are always learning from the past, from our first steps when we start exploring the world around us. And we need learning now more than ever. After all, learning is the new life source, sustaining us and helping us to grow. We approach every new step tentatively, learning to master it and push it forward. Yet we remain tied to dusty textbooks and uninspiring classrooms of the past. Whilst our technology progresses from old to new, we must change the present by adapting and understanding
the nature of how we learn. Education is no longer confined to the walls of classrooms. We are now learning anywhere, at any time. Whenever creativity or inspiration strikes, regardless of our age, and we are now sharing this knowledge with each other, the internet has opened a portal for us through which to share our passions and talents. We have adapted our approach to education, working alongside current technology to focus our thinking. And what's more, we keep an eye on the future to further our own ideas and achievements, and continue to reach forward because who knows what the future may bring. We are LearnBox. Learning from the past, changing the present, keeping an eye on the future.
Thank you for joining us. Thanks to the IEP for having us, this morning, this afternoon. The day's obviously flying by. Thank you very much. Absolute pleasure to be here. I'll hopefully when we get the slides up, I'll let Erica introduce herself. But just to let you know who I am, my name's Lucy Dunleavy. I am the founder and CEO of a company called LearnBox. LearnBox, we are a film production company that specialises in education. So we create learning content through video, but all sort of film production quality, short, bite-sized, engaging pieces that move learners along with a real flow. We utilise technology so that people can learn anytime, anywhere, on the go. And we work in this work-based learning sector. We deliver full apprenticeships, maths and English for adults. Very much make it accessible for people so that they can learn anytime, anywhere. And I know somebody in the last session talked about mental health and well-being, and how actually there's some people that don't want to leave the home. So for me, it's about making education as accessible as possible to everybody and anybody, to give everybody the same opportunities, because education is so powerful, and particularly with everything that's been going on with COVID and everything else, and the rate of technological change. There's so much that we need to learn now more than ever.
So thank you so much, Lucy, just for the intro there. So Erica Farmer. So I'm the founder and director of Welcome to Learning Limited. So I've got 20 years corporate learning and development experience. I sit on 4 apprenticeship provider boards, and I was the chair of the customer service trailblazer in the apprenticeship space. I've also got some tenure in Working Links as well, so very clear in terms of the sector and some of the challenges that we've got, particularly in that kind of welfare to work apprenticeship funded learning space, and really pleased to work with Lucy for this presentation as well.
I'd like to introduce you to Mo as a starting point. Mo is a sort of typical tutor, assessor, coach, working in the work-based learning sector, but very much in that sort of support tutor role. Everybody has different names for people in these roles. Often they're called tutors. So Mo's ours, and we just wanted to give you a bit of a background story about Mo. So pre-COVID, he had a caseload of about 45 learners, a lot of them on apprenticeships because businesses want to utilise apprenticeship levy. He was doing over 400 miles a week, probably a hell of a lot more than that. 12-hour days, driving around the country, going into the workplace to see learners and being told, it's not a good time for us now, we've got a business to run, can you come back some other time? And when he could get learners off the shop floor or out of the business to spend time in the classroom, they were often frustrated, being pulled from one place to the next, not really wanting to be there. And he really struggled with his learner retention. But Mo had a background in working in the sort of logistics industry, so intentionally went into training in sort of warehouse, wanting to support people, had a real passion for it, but very quickly became quite frustrated with his lifestyle, his, you know, lack of work-life balance, if you will. So yeah, pretty demotivated for Mo, and also the businesses and the learners and the people around him as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Lucy. Thank you. So if that resonates with you guys, particularly pre-COVID, just give me a green tick in the participants box. What I need you to do is click on the toolbar at the bottom, click on participants. You'll have a list of everybody in the session. Just give me a green tick. Does those kind of challenges resonate with you? Challenge, engagement, you know, having to design, deliver training, driving to lots of learners and understanding, you know, what the individual challenges are. So you've got a couple of green ticks popping up there. So thanks ever so much, guys. So
Yeah.
the session today is really around that kind of what can we do from a learner experience perspective to think about actually there's other opportunities out there, particularly around virtual classroom and creating content, and particularly in that video space as well, and how we can use those to really engage our learners and provide the best experience that we've got going on. So today's interactive session is just that. We'll be asking you to use the chat function, we'll be asking you to use the participant function, and we'll be asking you to use the annotation function, and we'll introduce some of these tools and techniques to you in the session. So we've got some really great opportunities now in the blended learning space. So blended learning, if you use blended learning, just give me a yes in the chat. You know, typically it tends to be a mix of that online space, e-learning, virtual classrooms, face-to-face. So if you give me any yes in the chat, if you do use that blended learning, and it's quite a typical way, and particularly now post-COVID, where we still want that face-to-face, but actually we're migrating a lot of our learning online. So I can see a yes from Anne, Pamela, Mike, Simon, Marie and Leslie. Thank you very much, guys, for that. And we're really starting to understand, what does this mean in this middle of this COVID? We know that we've had the rule of 6 that came out on Monday. So actually people are starting to think, what does our learning strategy look like now, particularly in that digital space?
Thanks, Erica. And just to share a few stats with you, sort of early doors really, that, you know, 40% of training budgets spent on travel pre-COVID. That's, you know, it's a lot of money for these 400 plus miles per tutor, learner, tutor, assessor, coach traveling around the country, often to get limited time with learners. But actually we know, Erica just touched on blended learning and how, you know, crucial that can be and how important. But e-learning actually increases the retention rates by up to 60%. That's pretty dramatic. E-learning participants learn nearly 5 times more, and e-learning typically requires 40 to 60% less employee time than learning the same way. So it condenses it, it gets to the point much quicker, which again, saving time, saving money, saving costs, all that kind of thing. And when we're in a time now where it's very much about survival, business survival, and moving forward through the COVID, even more important. And again, like Erica's just touched on, the, you know, the 6 people in a room, if you've got a tutor and 5 people, you know, is it cost effective to have that many people in a classroom environment, plus all the precautions, masks, all the rest of it that have to be considered at this point in time as well. So if we go back to Mo, our tutor assessor, this is Mo's second home, Premier Inn. If you've ever sort of had the sort of work-life balance where you've had a hotel as your second home, please put a yes in the chat now. It'd be great to hear how many people have actually done that. I'm sure there's some of you that are going, he's pretty lucky getting the Premier Inn. We've stayed in some much worse places. Because I know I've had this conversation with many tutors and assessors, like, lucky bugger, I wish I got the Premier Inn. But yeah, just as an example, this is a typical thing that not only is he not getting very much time with his learners, he's spending a hell of a lot of time on the road, but minimal time in the actual workplace talking to people because it's just not convenient. And if you're someone who's in, you know, a tutor coach role, you know people that are, they've gone into that role more often than not because they're passionate about what they're teaching. So it's so frustrating to get into that role, and then you meet people that have been in that role for a period of time and they're just, oh, they're so worn down with the whole system. And that's really disappointing because they're in it for the right reason. And obviously the way that they hold themselves and the way they engage with them learners, that is what inspires them, engage them, and all the rest of it. So if they're not engaged to start with because they're so frustrated, where is that going to lead? It's quite worrying, really. But yeah, I'll pass back to Erica to talk about the challenges.
Yeah, and Pam talks a lot about this in Pam's session previously around just setting yourself up for success in the online world, making sure you're clear in terms of you've got the right tech, you're aware of what's going on, you're camera ready. But actually, it's far more than that in the online world. It's really making sure that people are prepared mentally and from a skill set perspective, because it's a mindset shift as well as a skill set shift. So what I'd like you to do, if you can get your annotation tool for me, so that's just hovering your mouse at the top of the screen, you'll see a drop down green box. Just click on options next to that, bring up your annotation. I'd like you to put a little star on the screen if any of those resonate with you, or if you've heard from anybody within the team in terms of some of the perceived challenges in the online space. So I don't like it, I can't see the body language, how do I know they're engaging with me? It's not the same as face-to-face, that's the one that we hear all the time. Here we go, lots of stars coming up. Yeah, absolutely. So, typically at the beginning of COVID, we decided to, pop our trainers and our coaches in front of Zoom or in front of Teams or whatever your weapon of choice might be, and say, kind of get on with it, guys. You're here, you've got the tech, you've got a Zoom account, what's the problem? Crack on. And actually, we were quite surprised when we started hearing some of those challenges in that space. So thank you so much for sharing those with me. What you'll see on the annotation bar on the right-hand side is a little dustbin. I'd like you just to click on that little dustbin for me. What that does is that just clears our annotations away as well. So thank you so much for doing that. But actually, I'm just going to move on back onto Lucy now. But from a skill set perspective, I think we need to do a bit of thinking. We need to hold that mirror up and have a bit of honest reflection around that.
Yeah, because for me, we're talking about learning here, and we're talking about progress, and we're talking about upskilling people and supporting them, all that kind of thing. And in any other sector, we wouldn't just expect somebody to be sort of thrown in at the deep end and just get on with it. So just as a, facetious example, if you were in the police and then you moved to the fire service, you would be trained. You wouldn't just, even though you're an emergency service, you wouldn't be expected to be able to walk from one career into another without some level of training. It would be key to that role, because there's a difference. And I think just from going from delivering and teaching in a classroom environment to then doing that online, there's a very, very clear difference. And unfortunately, yes, we probably need to look more digital. We needed that kind of digital revolution and a push. But actually, it became very, very drastic when we suddenly got locked down, and the expectations of get online, do it, like Erica mentioned. But within anything else, we would have supported somebody into that. But unfortunately, I've spoke to so many people that just not had that support. It's here's your login, do your best. And you can imagine if you're panicking as a tutor or as a trainer or anybody online, then you're not going to bring out the best in your learners. And Pam before mentioned about building up trust, and I completely agree with that. It's so important. And saying that, people are saying it's much harder to build trust online. My only counter argument with that would be, is if you're using technology and you're not sure what you're doing and there's somebody there that does, you instantly have their trust, because they're like, you are everything to me now, you can help me. So I do think you can use that to your advantage at times as well to build that trust pretty quickly. Yeah, can we move on to the next slide, Erica?
Yeah, definitely. So just before we move on to the next one, we already know that we're in a space where, from a digital skills perspective, we're already behind the curve. Or actually, I'm going to play a short video for you now that talks about the World Economic Forum and some research that's been done around actually what does business say the top 6 skills are needed for the workforce going forward. So we need to be planning to kind of recoup where we are already. How do we retrospectively make sure that people have got what they need in this space, which we've had to accelerate over the last couple of months? But actually, what's business saying for the next 5 to 10 years? Even just 5 years from now, more than 1/3 of the skills we believe are essential for today's workforce will have changed, according to the Future of Jobs report from the World Economic Forum. Fast-paced technological innovation means that most of us will soon share workplaces with artificial intelligences and bots. So how can you stay ahead of the curve? Here are 6 skills you need for the future of work. Creativity. Human workers in the future will need to be creative to fully realise the benefits of all the new things for the future. Emotional intelligence. A machine can't easily replace a human's ability to connect with another human being, so those who have high EQ will be in demand.
Critical thinking. A person with critical thinking skills can suggest innovative solutions and ideas, solve complex problems using reasoning and logic, and evaluate arguments, and be open-minded to the best possible solution. Active learning with a growth mindset. A person with a growth mindset understands that their abilities and intelligence can be developed, and they know their effort to build skills will result in higher achievement. Technology skills. The fourth industrial revolution is fueled by technological innovations such as artificial intelligence, big data, blockchain, and more. Employees in most roles will be required to access data and determine how to act on it. Embracing change. Due to the speed of change in the future workplace, people will have to be agile and able to embrace and celebrate change. An essential skill during the fourth industrial revolution will be the ability to see change, not as a burden, but as an opportunity to grow and innovate. Since the half-life of a skill has dropped from 30 years to an average 6 years, it's time for all of us to begin acquiring new skills that will make us valuable resources in the future workplace. So with that in mind, what skill is the first one that you plan to tackle? Welcome To can support you for the need of future skills in the workplace, delivered via 2-minute videos, webinars and consultancy. Welcome To, delivering the right training at the right time.
Okay, so we can see that already we're behind the curve. There's lots of things that we need to be thinking about, but we're still seeing from a learning perspective, you know, the basics that aren't quite right, particularly in the online space. And this is a slide that Lucy and I laugh about and have a giggle about every now and again. So I'm going to shut up for 30 seconds and I'm going to allow you to read the slide. Just have a read it there for us.
I'm sure everybody's really engaged right now.
Absolutely, but more and more we see kind of these kind of things. People aren't particularly thinking about the purpose of a slide, the purpose of a session, purpose of interacting kind of every 5 minutes or so to make sure that you're battling and winning the battle against pets and, like Pam talked about earlier, husbands and phones pinging and technology crashing and everything else that we find ourselves against. But we also find ourselves, you know, people are giving a go, which is, you know, a big thumbs up actually. But Lucy, I think we've got an example here of somebody who's given it a go and it hasn't quite worked out, right?
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what I was saying before about engagement is crucial. It is really important, and that's something that we have got control over. Even if things don't work, we've got the time, the preparation, and often people will go back to something that, oh, I know PowerPoint, so I'll make that work. But then you find that not everybody, lots of people put lots of information in front of your face and then start reading it to you, and it's like, whoa, what is this? And it should be, you know, it's a very simple rule that if you don't find something engaging, then it's highly likely somebody else won't. And it's always worth testing it with somebody, you know, even if it is your husband, your pet, your child, whoever you've got to hand, because sometimes you can become so invested in utilising something that you know how to do that you just spend so much time in it, so you're committed to it, so it's going to work. But actually, we need to know that the learner that's actually at the side of this is engaged with it. It's crucial, because if they're not engaged, they're not making progress, and progress equals happiness. So it's so important. And like Erica said, people are trying, and people have made lots of inroads to try and do things, you know, getting online and all the rest of it. But often if they're not supported and they're not given the time and the training, you know, from an educational perspective, it can go really badly, and it can end up being worse. So we've got a little example, a short video for you of how not to do it. But unfortunately, we have seen lots of this sort of stuff as well. But fair play to people having a go, like I say, but get the support. And you know, as an employer, if you've got employees and they're moving online, help them, give them the opportunity. You could have a budding videographer in the team, but if they're given the information and shown how to do it, then you're more likely to get more out of them. Whereas if you just expect them to get on and try it. So yeah, we'll just give you a little snapshot of a quite amusing video now of how not to do it.
Is this on?
Okay, well, welcome to Maths Boxed, a brand new way to learn maths concepts quicker through video. Maths is just brilliant and everyone loves it. And after this video course, I guarantee you'll like maths even more, if that's possible, and maybe start to do maths in your spare time or down the pub with your mates. We're going to start with a module that looks at something I think is truly amazing, fractions. half of you are going to like this video and the other half are going to love it.
Okay, just give me a green tick up in the participants box there if you've come across something similar to that in the past. Just give me a green tick if you've come across where someone's really, with the best intentions, try to give it a go and move online, but actually we can understand from a learner experience perspective, perhaps it's not the right thing. And we've got some green ticks popping up in the participants box there. So thanks ever so much, guys. Okay, so we know Zoom, we're on Zoom at the moment. We understand that actually there's lots of functionality that we can use through Zoom, and there's Mo giving Zoom a go right there. It's really important to, again, you know, make sure you've got the right platform, but once you've got a platform, Teams, Zoom, whatever it might be, Leslie says sound has reduced when Lucy is talking. Leslie, I think that might be just because I'm probably a bit loud actually.
And you've got a stealth headset, so I'll talk a bit louder. Can you hear me now?
Okay, if you can hear Lucy, just let us know. Just give us a yes in the chat box. Yeah, thanks, Alan. Thanks,
Great.
Leslie. Brilliant. Thank you so
you.
much. So yeah, so you know, people, we're giving it a go. We've plopped people in front of Zoom and Teams and all the rest of it. But actually, have we trained them to engage? Have we trained them to use technology and videos and annotations and stuff like that? So very, you know, a very short exercise I'm going to ask you to do right now. I'd like you to go back to your annotation tool. It's just a scaling question like you can see on the screen like this. So very typical in virtual classrooms, interact with people right from the beginning. And what I'd like you to do is get your draw tool, get me a circle or get me a draw, get me a line, and just score yourself 0 to 10. How confident do you feel in engaging in online platforms? And we talk about this, you know, how confident do you feel in terms of running sessions that are really driving people forward, really engaging them, really supporting them? So we've got some really good stuff coming out. Lots of 8s, which is fantastic. So, you know, these guys are the people that are saying, you know, I'm interacting every 3 to 5 minutes. I'm using my voice, I'm using slides, I'm using videos, I'm using all the great stuff. So thank you so much, guys. Couple of 5s, couple of 6s as well. So yeah, so again, something like that. Slides just really nice and clear. In the online environment, we take away all of the text and we go with the visuals because it tells a story to the learner and it helps people move that knowledge from that short-term memory into that long-term memory. So therefore more likely to transfer into their job searching, into their coaching session or whatever it is that they might be having with you guys. So thank you so much for that. Really appreciate that, guys. Just keep hold of your annotation tool for me. This is another way just to engage people in the online space. So just grab the text tool for me, the one with the T, and just kind of give me a couple of words about what do you love about online learning? Just give me a couple of words on the slide there. What do you guys love about online learning? So remember, you're typing on a blue background, so you might want to change the color of your text. So you can do that by clicking on the format box on your annotation toolbar. So thanks very much. We've got some less driving, really visual flexibility. We've got some nice draw coming from Pam there. Yeah, Helena says really flexible. Absolutely. So don't be afraid. Val says flexible. Anna Louise says pace. Yeah, time feels a bit weird in the online space. You can get more content covered, for example. You can do lots of different stuff. Able to record and reuse the training, somebody's popped up there. Lara's popped up, learn from the comfort of my own home. Absolutely. And at the moment, I feel for these trainers that are socially bubbling people in classrooms and having to wear visors and masks, or, you know, having to clean the toilets every time somebody goes in a session and comes out again. You know, we don't have any of that in the online space. And you can argue the pros and cons of online versus face-to-face, I think, till the cow comes home. Environment, flexibility, and reaching a wide audience is some of the things that you guys have shared with me. So thank you so much. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to share with you something called Jamboard. So we're going to move away from Zoom in this piece of learning now. So if you've used Jamboard before, just let me know. What I'd like you to do is just give me a yes or a no in the chat box. Have you used Jamboard before? And some of you guys might say, well, what the hell is Jamboard? What's she talking about? Which means you probably haven't used it. So if you have used Jamboard before, yeah, there's lots of no's coming in. Actually, a couple of yeses at the beginning, but lots of no's. No's with question mark. As in, oh no, tell me more. I'm interested. So that's fantastic as well. So what I'm going to show you now is something that's part of Google Suite. So you can literally just Google Jamboard. It's a free interactive whiteboard, and I'm going to get you guys having a go on it in a minute. So it's a free interactive whiteboard. You can move between whiteboards, so it's great for setting up exercises. You can put people into breakout rooms and allocate them a Jamboard for different exercises. You can use them for collaboration. You can get people working together to generate thoughts and ideas. And the great thing about it is you can put sticky notes on, you can move sticky notes around, you can ask people to add extra sticky notes and put it on, so people can really start to collaborate and share their information. You can use it with any of the online virtual sessions. Is it free, Lara asks? Absolutely free. If you've got a Google account, which most of you will have because you've logged into Google before, absolutely free. Type in Jamboard and it will pop up. Use it with Teams, Google Classroom, BlueJeans, any of the online sessions that the platforms that you're using. Guarantee Joe Cook has used Jamboard. Joe, if you're there, just give me a shout in the chat. Just let me know your thoughts on Jamboard. Things like creating word searches, icebreakers. Yeah, Joe says love it. Me too, Joe. You know, being able to kind of really engage people, but make sure if you're doing that stuff, you give them the answer key as well, because it can be a bit frustrating anyway. And then you can put some blank Jamboards in just for people to get creative. So what I'm going to do, thanks Pam. Pam says loving the images. Brilliant, thank you so much. I am going to invite you guys to my Jamboard. So I'm going to put the link into the chat. What I'd like you to do now is just click on that chat, click on that link and join me on the Jamboard, so you can have a couple of minutes just having a go. And Joe's made a great point there. As long as people have a Google account, it's versatile and it offers, you know, support for lots of platforms. So join me on the Jamboard, and you'll see there's an annotation bar on the left hand side. Draw on the Jamboard, start moving things around, give me some sticky notes. Hi Alan. Alan said hello already. Move to your Jamboards. You can see at the top of the screen you've got between 1 and 20 Jamboards, so don't be afraid to move around as well. There we go. So lots of opportunity for you guys to really, and I can see here there's little avatars. So you join as a squirrel or as a camel or as a horse or something like that. It is great, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's, you know, lots of different things that you can do. So it's not all about Zoom, it's not all about Teams, it's not all about your platform and just using the same old functionality over and over again. I'm going to leave that link live and that Jamboard live, so you guys can go back into that any point that you wish, but I just wanted to introduce you to something that's slightly different in the online world. What do you think, Lucy?
I love it. I haven't used Jamboard, and I've got a meeting this week with the team, so I'm going to purposely come in like I'm super cool and know all about Jamboard. So yeah, so nobody tell any of my team about this. It's great. I was there thinking I have to put a flip chart behind me and start drawing things out. I don't need to do that now. Save me so much time. It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I'm always getting hints and tips from Erica. For me, she is the queen of virtual classrooms and online stuff. So yeah, hints and tips galore. Thank you. Yeah, just moving on to talk about the technology and you know, from that perspective about the flow of learning. Really, this is just a sort of screenshot of the LearnBox platform. Not particularly plugging the LearnBox platform, but my point really is about the flow and about how we create short bite-sized videos that are followed by interactive quizzes, questions that move people along, you know, quite naturally. It's very, very simple to use, and my point really is that technology should be easy to use. It should be as simple really as using a smartphone, so there's no, you know, not tripping anybody, no panicking, that they can literally just move along, because I would say the majority of the population do have a phone, you know, all ages. My parents have phones. My parents are now using Zoom, not particularly that well at the start of lockdown, but they're certainly getting better. So for me, technology is not a young thing. Anybody can use it. And as long as it's as simple as possible and it supports that flow of learning, it's crucial. So yeah, for me, it's the flow, and it's about the engaging piece. Again, just going back to that. If you can get learners engaged because of the content that you're putting in front of them, making things simple for them to use, if you can keep your tutors engaged so they come across as engaging and the learners are instantly, wow, I'm happy to see you, even though I'm online, I can build that rapport quite quickly with them, and that you're working around your employer and everybody's engaged with the process, that's going to be crucial to your business survival. because you're going to get increased retention. Not particularly a fan of retention, but progress is key for me. It's all about progression and moving people forward. It's about the learners enjoying that. It's about filling the skills gaps. And it's about supporting, upskilling people for the future. So if we can cover all of those bases, then that is what business survival is going to be all about. Sort of, I don't know what we call it. I mean, it's not post-COVID yet, is it? But as we get through COVID and beyond, I think it's crucial. So just coming back to Mo, to sort of bring his life together, if you will, by investing the time into Mo and showing him how to use online properly and supporting him through that and giving him that training. One, you've got a cost saving there instantly for the business. He's having a much better work-life balance, so he's spending more time with his family, which, you know, unless people are really not happy to be at home, that hopefully is a bonus. He's developing skills of the future, including things like engaging through video. Video communication is a skill of the future, doing reviews with learners, particularly in work-based learning. If you've got somebody that's demonstrating a skill in the workplace, then why not encourage them to film that and upload that, so the tutor, when they're not there all the time, can see exactly what they've done. Because, as I say, video communication is crucial. You've got improved skill sets, you've got improved work-life balance, you've got a happy training provider. So, you know, from an employee perspective, you know, they're keeping going as a business, because when all said and done, there is businesses still being run around that, and learner progress and job satisfaction is increasing. But out of all of this, Mo, who was running around the country, doing so many miles, living in the Premier Inn or worse, he's now got a much better work-life balance. And actually, he can work around his lifestyle rather than just being on the road all the time and trying to fit around other people. If he knows that person, that business starts at 7 o'clock in the morning, and actually 7 o'clock's quite a good time for him because the children are still in bed or whatever, he can get online and do it at that point. And I think that's the difference now, is the world is moving and bending around individual needs and what works best. And we've had no choice through COVID, but I do think there will be changes coming out of it. And yes, there's definitely a place for human interaction. We're human beings at the end of the day, and we want that interaction with other people. But this world of online and blended is going to be key to business survival and moving things forward for the cost savings that can happen through that. So yeah, I think it's crucial. And you know, from our point of view, I'll hand over to Erica, but anything we can do to support with that, you know, more than happy to.
Yeah, thanks, Lucy. Yeah, absolutely. And do link in with us, Lucy Dunleavy and Erica Farmer. We're going to leave you with one last video before we finish the session. If there's any last questions or queries, do feel free to pop them in the chat or contact us directly or through Helen and the team at the EIP. So Lucy, just kind of final over to you in terms of, I know this is a really poignant video and an important piece for you. So do you want to just set this up for us?
Yeah, I think for me, what we're talking about today is obviously engagement is crucial, and getting people engaged in learning. But at the heart of all that is the learning piece, and how important education is for all of us, not just some of us, all of us. It's what, you know, keeps the world tied together. It's how we make progress, is that education and continuously learning and always being open to learning. Nelson Mandela, late great Nelson Mandela, education is the most powerful weapon that we can use to change the world. Completely agree with that, but I also think if you marry that with technology, you can change the world much quicker, because we can get that to lots of people in a, you know, high quality, standardized way by offering that support and pushing it out there. Yeah, feel free to put your questions into the chat. We'll help as much as we can. We'll put some contact details in there as well. Again, it's not all about, you know, not supporting other people learning how to do things. We've created a video of how to make your own video. If anybody wants a copy of that, it's completely free. Get in touch, we'll send that to you, so we can support you remotely in creating your own videos so that it's done in the best way. Because actually, if we support people learning, we're going to have, you know, maximum impact in changing the world.
Here we go. Here's the video that we started off with. Fingers crossed.
We are always learning from the past, from our first steps when we start exploring the world around us. And we need learning now more than ever. After all, learning is the new life source, sustaining us and helping us to grow. We approach every new step tentatively, learning to master it and push it forward. Yet we remain tied to dusty textbooks and uninspiring classrooms of the past. Whilst our technology progresses from old to new, we must change the present by adapting and understanding
the nature of how we learn. Education is no longer confined to the walls of classrooms. We are now learning anywhere at any time. Whenever creativity or inspiration strikes, regardless of our age, and we are now sharing this knowledge with each other, the internet has opened a portal for us through which to share our passions and talents. We have adapted our approach to education, working alongside current technology to focus our thinking. And what's more, we keep an eye on the future to further our own ideas and achievements, and continue to reach forward because who knows what the future may bring. We are LearnBox. Learning from the past, changing the present, keeping an eye on the future.
Thank you so much for joining us. Lucy Dunleavy, LearnBox, Erica Farmer, welcome too. Please do get in touch. Thank you very much. There's Lucy's email there in the chat. I will also pop mine on. Please do link in if we're not linked in already, and see how we can change the world through learning. Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for the IEP.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, ladies. That was a fantastic, really engaging session. And thank you to everyone who's attended. What a fantastic first day this has been. We've had the seminars from Joe Cook this morning and the 2 responder sessions from the Digital College and from Bounce Australia. We had Pam's fantastic session earlier around virtual coaching with impact. And then now we've just had that. While you were in this session, another session has been going on. We've had the IEP Talent Academy looking at how to have an effective and digital presence within a recruitment process. So please do check that out via the YouTube channel. We will write out to you all and let you know when that is available. And come back and join us tomorrow when we have another fantastic suite of events. In the meantime, if you can't wait for tomorrow, we do have a networking session happening at 2:30. It's only going to be for half an hour and it's an open session, and all we want you to do is just come along and chat about what's been the best part of today for you, what are your takeaways and how you're going to implement them back in the workplace. So I look forward to seeing you all then, and thanks again, Erica and Lucy. It's been great. Thank you. Cheers. Bye bye everybody.